up, everybody on YouTube, over on the YouTube side of things? We're doing an item tier list, a full item tier list for ADCs, where most of the items that I usually see built, or you would see built in your games, or in high level games, or potentially even in pro level games. There might be some things left off this list. I asked Tyron to not include the mage items because fuck mages, they're not ADCs, they're mages. So exit out of these real quick, okay? Stop seeing this ad, bro. Unless you want to sponsor me, Infinity. Hey, at Infinity, if you want to sponsor the boy, give me a free Q60S. That'd be nice. But yeah, let's get into it. These are going to be pretty much all the items you'd build in ADC in the current day and age. This is today's March 23rd, so it's the Tuesday, the buff with the death toll nerf and stuff. I wanted specifically to wait for today to test out the death toll, see how good it feels, see how bad it feels in lane and whatnot, see how bad it got impacted. I played a couple games today. I kind of got what I wanted out of them, so let's dive into it. We're going to start off with our starters. First starter will be Death Toll. I think Death Toll is the strongest starter at the moment. Granted, it was nerfed. Well, more altered than nerfed. It got a reduce in cost, which is nice. You get more pots for the lane, which means that loss in sustain can be made up with the pots. Got a little bit more power in lane, which makes you hit harder, which is nice. And its upgrades are obviously insane. The only thing that really sets Death Toll apart from the other starters is the fact that you have infinite mana sustain in lane, and that is a big deal. Just being able to use all your abilities and not be kind of carefree or more lax with what you're using and how you're using it and stuff like that, and having the ability to stay in lane for much longer because you have Death Toll is a big deal. It allows you to often finish your devs off of the first back, finish your boots if you don't want to stay for devs, just to stand through the lane much longer than the other ADC can, which in turn will usually be a really big deal. So yeah, buildable every game. You can build this every game, every hunter, physical hunter, not physical hunter, I was gonna say like a auto attack hunter, a non-auto attack hunter, a burst hunter. Do as you please. It is a good ass starter, and you should. Next we're gonna move on to Arrow. I think Arrow is also buildable every game, kind of, but I think it's more in the A slot because I think Arrow is more situational for when you're going crit. Granted, you can go the Diamond Arrow, but I think it's kind of just weaker than the other options you have. If you really want all that attack speed, you might as well just go Cal. The power makes up for the loss of basic attack damage that you don't get. I think it's just worse than going like Cal or something, but if you do go for the Ornate Arrow, it is very strong with crit builds, and I think it is just a strong starter with that. As a starter in itself, it's pretty solid. I mean, it gives you a little bit of a mini game, and if you're not hitting those last hits, it actually doesn't feel like that amazing, but it's, you know, it's not bad. Not bad. You can build it. I pretty much only go it when I'm going crit build. Cowl. I think Cowl we're gonna put in the buildable every game section. Because I do think it's buildable every game. I don't know when I'd want to really build it over Death Toll. I'm still really like trying to get to the bottom of this debate here. Cal versus Death Toll, when you should go one, when you should go other. Why do I go this? Why do I go that? I kind of just think the sustain from Death's Embrace is much more valuable than the sustain you get from the Hunter's Cowl or the whatever cowl, the OP1, level 21. And I think that makes it a lot more valuable to me. But, you know, if you are going like a trans build or a dominance build, going Cowl because you don't need the mana from Death Toll is definitely viable, and I think it is pretty good. As for a starter, I mean, it's strong. It gives you some lane sustain, some attack speed, some movement speed as well. People don't actually know, but the passive does apply from the base item as well. So when you're getting ganked, you know, you're a little bit faster, makes you a little bit more elusive, a little bit harder to kill. So, you know, it's small stuff, but it's definitely not bad. Just remember, if you're going Cal, you're probably going to have some issues with mana come by the 2nd, 3rd, 4th minute of the lane, and that can be an issue for next up, we will go into which one is regular mannequin. I think this is base mannequins. I don't think you should go Mannequin Scepter anymore. I think it was a cheesy art item to begin with. I think it was pretty bad. And now I just think it's even worse. It's went through a substantial amount of nerfs. A lot of stats were removed, altered, changed. And I just don't think it really does anything. And the only thing this item is good for is for killing the Harpy off of wave 1 / past that, I don't think it's good. I think it's bad. I don't think you should buy it. What's left on this list? Eye of the Jungle is here. I don't think you should go Eye of the Jungle anymore either. It was a good ADC starter before they decided to nerf it. Post nerfs, I don't think it's a good. I don't think it's good. Not go it. I would just rather go Cal or Deathtoll every single game. Bluestone, kind of in the same boat. I suppose it maybe can be like a B item because you can like maybe build it sometimes, but I kind of think it really doesn't offer much. I kind of think I'd just rather go Deathtoll if I wanted the mana sustain, and if not, then I just go Cal. Even on like gods like Uller and stuff, it still feels worse to go this than to go Deathtoll. Yeah, look at the
Gerald 32 just resubscribed.
So yeah, those are my thoughts. I don't really think Bluestone's good. I think at the start the upgrades are pretty bad. They might have some niche like cheesy little interactions with some characters, but just in general, I think it's as a starter v starters, it is a bottom tier. Good in solo though. And then I think lastly on this list we have a Bombus Dagger. I think Bombus is bad. I don't think Bombus Dagger is good in particular. I think this is a bad item to build an ADC. You shouldn't start any of your builds with it. But there are some builds which you can get into that actually make use of the Bumpus Hammer. This one over here. But as a starter, this is not a good starter to go. You should just be going one of these starters. Typically one of these two. If you're going crit, I would go this arrow to go into Ornate Arrow to actually make that extra crit. We can move on to the upgraded starters, I suppose, and then we can finish with the other items. Finish off the other items. Let's go ahead and just start with which one's Death's Temper? Which one's this is Death's Temper, right? This one's Death's Embrace. Death's Embrace. I think this is Death's Embrace. I might look like an idiot. Death's Embrace is a very, very strong item. This item just got nerfed, but it is my mic cutting out? I'm gonna move a little closer. I think it just got nerfed, but the item is still very, very strong. Very, very strong. It just gives you more healing than Cal does. So going Cal and getting out healed by an item that isn't like, you know, bad feels pretty bad. So I think Death's Embrace is very, very, very strong. I build it almost every single game. Some people are building it less. Maybe some people stop building it more after they realized the nerf wasn't that big a deal. The 1% is kind of like a decent hit, but I still think it's enough sustain, especially when paired with Devos, which I almost do every game, to not really matter. Death's Temper, on the other hand, I think this is more a niche item. Again, it's an item that you kind of want to go with crit because it alters the basic attack damage, so your crits hit way harder because your basic attacks are way harder. I'm pretty sure that's how the math works on that. Somebody let me know. But I personally don't really ever see a reason to go Death's Temper. It's contingent on killing creeps or killing enemies, which I always hate in these starters. And it doesn't actually offer you any healing. It just makes you hit a little faster and a lot harder. But around fire giant fights and stuff like that, you're just going to get way more value out of Embrace. Being able to heal off of camps, heal off of, you know, just mid harpies. There's a scorpion by you that you can usually heal off of if you get kind of low or half health or whatever. You can heal off of Pyromancer if you get poked by anything. This is just a sick item. This, not so much. It's okay. You can build it if you want to go crit, but I probably wouldn't really ever go. Moving on to our next arrows, we have Ornate Arrow. I'm going to put it in the same slot as this arrow, obviously. Like I said, this is, you know, it's a great starter if you're going crit. But if you're not going crit, it doesn't really make any sense to buy it. I think it's fine. I just think going crit is kind of niche right now, and it's going to be the not norm. So I'm not going to see many arrows in general, which makes these arrows just valuable in general because crit got nerfed, or the build path got nerfed. The build path got nerfed, and Spectral got buffed. Yeah. Diamond Arrow, I think this is a rarely built item. Honestly, you could probably even go into don't buy it, but it's really not that much of a bad buy to justify putting into C. Because I think even though like I don't want to go arrow ever, if I did go arrow and I was like, I don't want to go crit this game. Something in the game changes. I'm like, I don't want to go crit this game. Oh, is this Diamond Arrow? Is it this way? This kind of looks like Diamond Arrow. Whatever. Pretend this is an Ornate Arrow. This is Diamond Arrow if it's not, okay? I don't really want to be going crit for some reason. Let's just say I have Untitled Arrow, and I'm like, okay, let's not go crit this game. Maybe they go Spectrals. Maybe I'm like, I think I made the wrong mistake. I want to go pen this game. I would go Diamond Arrow over Ornate Arrow, obviously, because it would make no sense to go Ornate Arrow. And I don't think I would feel that badly. But I think like any item that's contingent on something or that relies on something to happen to feel good to have is just worse than the items that don't need you to be doing something to work well. And for that reason, I think I'm going to put Diamond Arrow in B, because like it's just not a great item to have. Like I would just rather have Death Temper, or we'll put a Cal up in here in a second. And I mean, you can compare the stats, but these items, Death's Embrace and the Leaders or the Hunter's Cal, are just infinitely better. And you should just be good. Moving on to our best friend, the Hunter's Cal. I believe this is called Hunter's Cal. I don't know if that's the upgrade name or the base name. I don't remember. I haven't built it in a minute, but this is a very strong item. Once you get to 20, you feel very, very strong. It also allows you to opt for like Silver Branch builds, or opt for power, or opt for builds with a lot less attack speed because it makes up for a lot of it. It also applies to your teammates, so it's actually just having like another Shogun on the team, which can be a big deal if you have a double hunter team, or if you have a stall team with, you know, people that are auto attacking a bunch. Just, you know, there's a couple different scenarios where it can actually feel really, really good. I think it's a solid item. It is buildable every game. You can go these two items or these two starters, you know, whenever you want, and you should feel pretty good. I think the item's just really solid. If you mouse over the stats and you're like, oh, this is not good stats for an ADC, you're high, and you should rethink your thought process on your moving on to its superior brother, Leader's Cal. This will take its spot next to the famous Ickable. This item makes absolutely no sense for you to ever buy. I don't know why you would ever buy it. And if you do buy it, you're probably just trolling. Yeah, don't buy it. The next starter we are going to go into is our Eye starter. I don't know if the other Eye starter is on here, but that's good because it's pretty dog shit as well. Eye of the Jungle, or Protector of the Jungle, it's very subpar. The stats used to be really, really crazy on it. They nerfed the protections and the power and the procs you get from the jungle, and I think they nerfed something else on it. And it just feels pretty bad to go this starter in general now. So if you get to 20 and you're building it, it's good. It's fine, you know, but it's not seen often in the current day and age, and I don't think it's going to be seen at all in the future. So it's just a pretty subpar item. But if you do buy it, you're not feeling like, oh, why do I have this item, man? They did nerf the passive. I'm pretty sure they nerfed the passive from 12% or 12% to like 8% or some shit or something like that. I don't remember. Moving on to our upgraded Bluestone starters, I kind of think I would just rather have a 6th item than these Bluestone starters. I'd rather just sell my Bluestone. Maybe this is more acceptable, where you can sometimes go Bluestone if you want to, but these two starters, they don't really ever make sense on ADCs in general. Yeah, I don't know. I'd rather just sell. I'd rather just sell my Bluestone and finish my build with a regular item than this. And last but not, oh no, we actually have 2 more starters. These mannequin starters, I don't know if these are even good anymore. I don't remember the last time I've built them. This one was pretty horrible if you ask me. And it was good for like burning objectives in the beginning of the what's it called, season, when people were like, dude, have you seen how much damage you're doing to Fire Giant with Mannequin Mace Scepter? Freaking dude, that thing is OP. You're hitting it for 9 million. Nah, I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't like it. I don't know what this one does either. This is the one that does like 15% of their health on like the first auto attack or something. I think they're both terrible. I don't know why you'd ever build them. Honestly, I think they're all pretty terrible. I'm gonna move this down here because I don't think there's a reason for you to buy Eye. There might be a reason for you to buy a mannequin 1 out of 100,000 games. And then last but not least, Bumpus Hammer. Bumpus Hammer, it's actually a really good item. It's very, very strong, very potent. The only problem with this hammer is that it requires you to not go a starter because you don't want Hidden Dagger or Bombus Dagger, whatever this is called, as your starter item with the beginning of your build. Just doesn't really do anything for you. Bumpus Hammer feels really, really good with a lot of characters. Characters that can afford to go it are typically characters that can rush trans. Maybe. It's not been tested much, but it's possible you can maybe go like a dominance rush if you don't want the trans at all, and you can go into like an auto attack build. But it just depends. I think whatever character can actually afford to go this and does get to actually build this item and get it online will feel insanely strong. Uller, Scotty, you could probably go it on Heimdall. You can probably go it on like, you know, Neath, Chiron, anybody who can go T2 trans / T2 dominance, whatever, and then, you know, hold out to late game. You will feel insane with this item. Kronos, he's not on this list right now, but he's a big one right now. We just uploaded a YouTube video with Kronos where with this hammer you have infinite uptime on your 2 and your 1 second, 1 second cooldown. It is a busted item. I'm sure it's going to get nerfed sometime in the future. As of right now, it's very strong. Moving on to the base items. These are all the starters. I think this list looks pretty solid to me. Like just eyeballing over it. You know, it looks good enough to me. Maybe we'll do some alterations in the end, but we'll see what happens. We'll just do this list just straight up how it is here. I'm not gonna like, you know, pick from here, then pick from here, then pick from here, then pick from here. But Aussie, probably don't buy it. I don't think it's really great, especially with both these starters giving you an adequate amount of sustain. The only time I'd see you ever buying it is if you're going that dominance T2 rush / trans T2 rush, and you really feel like you need that sustain in that third item slot. Even then, I'd rather just hold out for Oboe and just go Oboe third and suck it up and not have sustain for another item and a half. The only time you could really build it is like a 6th item, but I feel like in ADC there's a lot of items that are buildable as 6th items / boots replacements, so we're not actually going to go over like, oh yeah, you can build it as a 6th item for boots, blah 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 blah, because there's a lot of things. Like honestly, half of the things on this list you could build as a 6th item for boots. So pre-boots selling 1500 pot, I don't think this item's great. Atalanta's absolutely terrible item, never build it. The stats on it are garbage. If you want Atalanta's, just go Silverbench at that point, even if you're not utilizing Silverbench passive. Its stats are better and it just makes more sense. Berserker Shield, I think at the moment it's more an A than it is like a B, because it's not rare that it's built. People are building it quite often. I don't think it's S, because I don't actually think it's great. But it's an okay item. I mean, it's still situationally good. The base item itself right now is actually just worse than it was last season, stat for stat, and people weren't really rushing it then. But in some scenarios, you can maybe go like an item, like a 3rd item Berserkers, or maybe rush Berserkers. I just don't think it's that strong of an item, but it is still fine and buildable. So, you know, we'll throw it an A. Bloodforge. Bloodforge is a rarely built item. I don't really see it built ever, but you can build it if you want. The problem with it is that you don't really wait for your Bloodforge in lane like you could last season with Hunter's Blessing. And I think it's a good power spec for sure, but the only time you could really see it being built is if you are going in as a 6th item boots replacement. Like I said, there's a lot of things that can replace boots, so not really great, but it is fine. Sometimes if you get behind on dev stacks because you get screwed over in lane or something, you need boots, they go devs, they're like 50 stacks in, you're like, all right, I'm just gonna get a Bloodforge, call it a day. And for that, it is good. It is good for sure. But past that, I would just almost always just go Devos. Devos, you know, you get it online earlier, you could back early, you could start stacking. The faster you stack it, the more powerful you become, and yada yada yada. Brawlers is a rarely built item. The only characters I'd ever really build brawlers on are characters with the ability to go the trans build, or what I call the Mesos build. I like the full power build / the cooldown build, whatever you want to call it nowadays. Uller, Neath, Chiron, the people who really benefit from high power, flat pen early on, things like that. It's pretty rarely built just because it doesn't really feel that great to build. But if you are going the trans build and you want some anti-heal, Brawlers is typically your go-to, because Toxic Blade doesn't really make that much sense early on, because you just want the power. Mantle. Mantle's a rarely built item. This is more of like a last 5th item, 6th item. It's like, dang, I'm getting dove pretty hard here, and I need a form of protection to stop these people from diving me. The Mantle double protections are obviously really clutch. They can come in handy quite often if you do feel like you need to be buying the item. And its passive stun is really, really nice if you use your, if you use your beads early on in a fight or something, you get CC'd again. The proc will, be able to un-CC you, stun the person on top of you, many different things. And yeah, Mantle is a good item. But you don't build it in the top 4. You're not like, yeah, my boots power spike here is Devo's Boots Mantle of Discord. CDR can also go a long way on a lot of characters. It's a solid item, just rarely built, just because the situations where it is built, don't pop up very. Moving on next to our Deathbringer. Deathbringer, I could put it in C, like I personally believe it belongs in C, but people have been building it in the past, couple months because of the whole crit shenanigans that was happening for a while. Everyone was going, Devos or Berserker's Boots, Failnaught, Demon, Deathbringer. I think Deathbringer is fine to build on characters that have attack speed steroids, aka like stims, aka increased attack speed abilities / passive / whatever. Past that, it's not a very well statted item, and the only thing it is really good for is amping up your other crit items / crits. So for that reason, I think it's just not that amazing an item. Granted, if you're like an Apollo or something and you've opted for the crit build and you got your Rage built, your Wind Demon built, you don't feel like you need a Titan's Bane or a Dominance or something else, Deathbringer is quite a nice fit. But, it's an okay item. Devos, I think it's buildable every game. I will build it until the item itself gets nerfed. I think it's just the strongest starter. Sustain and the ability to turn and hold ground as an ADC is such an important thing in this game. And people that are skipping sustain, I don't know what they're doing. I don't know why they're doing it. But sustain is the name of the game in our role. And obviously this is just the most efficient, most effective, easiest to get, accessible sustain item that doesn't feel like dog shit to get. So yeah, Devo's very, very strong item. Would recommend building it. Dominance probably falls more into the B category than the C category because it's really not that bad. It's okay. It's really not that bad though. I think I'd just rather go Titans, which is why I'm going to put Titans up here. Or actually, I'm going to put Titans in S probably. But Dominance is more like a niche item. You can kind of get it if you want like the mana sustain off your start and you don't want to go Devos, whatever the reason that feels like. It felt like it was going to be a great item, like Studhusky says. It felt like it was going to be such a sick item when we first got it. ADC's like, bro, this is going to be sick, man. Like myself included. This is going to be sick, man. 20% pen, 10% extra on auto attacks. Super affordable, really insane. Just wow, 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 wow. And then like 2 months down the line, somebody's like, yo, Max, why don't you just go Titans? I was like, huh. Good point. Why don't I just go Titans instead? And I started going Titans. The problem with Dominance is that the extra 10% auto attack penetration passive does not apply to item effects or procs, aka Oboe and Kins. And as you see right now, Oboe and Kins is built in almost 90% of builds, I think, or for myself at least. So in situations where you're like, dang, I feel like I kind of want a Dominance, just go Titan's Bane. It's probably just better. Excuse me. The only time I really see Dominance being built is if you already have a Titan's Bane and you want another 20% pen item, or maybe if you have 30% pen, one of those pen items being Dominance, or one of those pen items being Titan's Bane, excuse me, and you really feel like you can benefit from that extra 10% pen on your autos, capping yourself at 40 plus 10, so you get 50%, maybe. But even then, it doesn't have any attack speed on it, which makes it a really hard item to fit into builds, just because not a lot of items have attack speed on them, and yeah, it's just an okay item. I would just rather go Titan's Bane every day of the week. Failnaught, probably don't buy it. I won't say it's dog shit because I mean the passive can still be useful. It's still like a team effect thing that if you gank somebody with a Failnaught, they can crit them and stuff like that. The CDR is still nice, the power is still nice. The only reason I'd say don't buy it is because, or the only time I would say it's actually terrible is if you're building it in a crit build. I think this is more of a bougie Jotun's Wrath, but in that case I feel like you could just put Jones over it. I think the nerf was quite crazy. 10% crit on an item just is terrible, especially for the cost. And I think it's just not a good bang for your buck item. If you want to go crit, I would just recommend skipping this item and going Rage. Gladiator Shield, dog shit. I don't think I'd ever build Dog or Glad Shield on anybody. I think it's a bad item for ADCs. It doesn't really make much sense. And I don't know. I don't know why I don't. This item's just on the list because it's here. I don't think I've ever built it. I'd rather just go Void Shield or Shifter Shield. Heart Seeker is a rarely built item. I don't think you should build it every game, but there are some games where you could be building it. The Mace build is the most prominent example of it, where you are building the Heart Seeker last quite often. It's a pretty strong item, honestly. It's a pretty expensive item. Granted, the power spike feels really good on a lot of characters. Proc is really nice. Just, you know, it's just a good item. It's pretty expensive, but it's kind of niche, so we're going to put it in B now. You just go when you have the power build. When you have a trans, you combo that with a Heart Seeker. It's like 200, almost 200 power from 2 items. Good stuff. Jones Wrath will also throw on this B tier because I think, like I said, it's just like a rarely built item that you can build sometimes, but the only times you really go it isn't when you're going that trans build. And that trans build is just not as strong as the Eldertech build is right now, which means you're probably not going to be going Jones very often. So, yeah. Malice is probably a C tier item more than anything. You don't really have too many item slots to fool around with this season, so that means that the items you get need to be really impactful and really help you out a lot. Malice is okay on some characters in some situations, but it's just never better than Rage. It's never better than Wind Demon. It's never better than Deathbringer. And it's just like an item. I'm gonna add a tier, actually, real quick. No, I'm not. But imagine if there's another tier. Oboe's right there. Oboe's the best item an ADC can buy. I think this item should be in 90% of builds. It is simply just insane. It's people call it artificial damage, doesn't count, whatever the hell you want to say, but this item is absolutely insane. Its DPS is some of the highest DPS in the game, even if you have Kins on the other side of the conversation, or Xe or Ichabod and stuff like that. 4 for 4 autos. Oboe damage is absolutely nutty. Stops people from blinking on you. That's a good point time. Bouncing around in team fights just makes it super awkward to engage. It's just a strong item. I've done over 3,000-4,000 damage in team fights just with Oboe alone. And if that doesn't say how OP it is, then I don't really know what else, like how else I'm supposed to tell you this item's absolutely busted. And until it gets nerfed, you should probably buy it on every character with every build. Doesn't matter when, doesn't matter how early, how late, it should be in your build. Ninja Tabi obviously is the core. Boots, strong boots, strongest boots you can get. I don't think you should go Warrior Tabi ever. Sorry, just the best boot option. Wind Demon, we will put in A tier, or Poison Star. Sorry, actually, we're gonna put Poison Star more in B tier because, like I said, you don't really ever have the option to really build this item. The only time you can is for 6th item after a 1500 pot, which makes it in the first 5 items just a lot less valuable. And I think you'd just rather have other crit items over it, so yeah. Warrior Tabi, don't buy, / probably don't buy. It's just not that great. I'd honestly rather go Warrior Tabi with like trans, even though, hey Max, it doesn't make sense. You're losing power on a power builder. Your spamming abilities 3 power. The Ninja Tabi is nice. The mana is nice. And the attack speed feels really good with high power. I think the only time you should really ever just like straight up go Warrior Tabi is probably on Uller, because the combo is that much more deadly. But even then, I almost always go Ninja Tabi on him as well. Just a mediocre item comparatively. I don't think I buy. Kins, buildable every game. I recommend going Kins and Oboe as a combination of items. The yellow damage will carry you pre-pen. Post-pen, you feel like an absolute menace. You're hard to dive. And it's just a frontline shredding comp or build, and it's very strong. And if you don't know where to start and you're like, hey Panda, I got put in ADC, what do I build, what do I do this, how do I play, how do I do this, you go 1, 2, 3, 4. The rest you can close your eyes. These items will carry you just throughout the whole game. It's that easy. Very strong. Rage we will throw in the A section. I could put it in B section, but it's just not that strong. It's not that rare of an item to buy, especially with the Failnaught nerfs coming into play. Rage is going to be your primary source of crit now, so you will see it more often. But even then, Spectral Armor is a thing now. You're not going to be building crit much, and just like an okay. Wingblade, Relic Dagger, you probably should never buy. I think Relic Dagger is just bad in ADC. It doesn't really make much sense. And it's just like a random item. I think Wingblade has its merit sometimes. Relic Dagger. Runeforge, also I don't think it's a good buy. It makes little sense with a lot of hunters. Some hunters have some combinations with it, or benefit from its passive and can actually utilize the item pretty well, but past that, you don't really ever want to buy it. Shifter Shield is a rarely built item more than it is a probably don't buy item. I think there is a meta that's going to develop with this item sometime in the future. There are people who like Barracuda who love to go their tanky hybrid ADC builds where you feel unkillable, and I'm sure this item will be in that build. It got a buff. It is a pretty strong item. It's pretty cheap. It gives a lot of power. It's just hard to build it because you just don't have a lot of items. Silver Bench, we'll go ahead and put an A tier. Silver Bench is a fine item, and I think it actually can be a mandatory buy on some characters, mostly Apollo and AMC, because they have such crazy steroids, and the uptime on them is pretty nice. But it's just not that amazing, because you just want other items in place of it, and most of the time, the only time you're going to be getting it is as an item for boots, where you're like, okay, the build's done, I have a lot of attack speed, should I go Silver Bench? Yes, you go Silver Bench. Soul Eater, I think it's a dog shit item. Don't buy it. It makes no sense to go. Why don't you just go Devos? It's a little cheaper. The stacked item's fine, but your Soul Eater power spike just feels bad. Stacking it feels bad, and then the upgraded version feels okay, but by that time the damage is done. Spirit Robe is a B tier, rarely built situational item that can be good sometimes. Granted, I feel like I'd almost always rather go Mantle than Spirit Robe. The CC, or not the CCR, the mitigations that you get from it don't really matter that much because you have such low protections anyways. So you kind of just get melted anyways if you're getting hit by huge stuns or something like that. The cooldown's nice, but you just rather go Mantle. We're going to put in C tier actually. Crusher is a rarely built item. It's in the same tree as the Jones Wrath. You go it if you're going the trans build. If not, you're not really going to often. XE, I'll throw it in A tier. Although maybe I should throw it in. No, I think it's okay. It's in between S and A. I don't know if it's like a definite A. I also don't think it's a definite S. Currently, I think Executioner is a good item. Very cheap power spike. It obviously feels good to buy like third item after your devos are done. But it is a stacking shredding item that also makes it ineffective or inefficient to build percent pen items in the same build as. And I think it's a little weird to build because I want Oboe and Kins before I want XC, and going 5th item XC feels really bad because at that point you want like a nice big tank pen item because people have so much prots. So I think it's buildable. I think you can build it if you want. If you don't want to go Oboe 3rd and you want to go XC Kins Oboe, if you want to go XC Rage, you can do that. It is a staple pen / shred item for crit builds because it has attack speed, and you don't really get much attack speed out of the crit builds nowadays. So go XC if you're going crit, or if you don't want to go Oboe. Titan's Bane, I think it's buildable every game. I've been currently building it every game. It is a very strong item. It's a better alternative to Dominance. Like I said, we talked about it earlier. 20% pen versus 10% pen to abilities, but it's also 20% pen to autos. Same thing as Dominance. It's just a better alternative. It does the same things that Dominance does and more. So I go Titan's Bane every game, and I think if you're going the Kinsoba build, this is the best finisher. Toxic Blade is a rarely built situational item because it is quite hard to fit this into your build pre 1500 pot. In fact, it's nearly impossible, I'd say. But sometimes, maybe you're like, Kins Oboe, they don't have a tank, I'm going Toxic. But it's not going to happen often. And it's mostly just like, hey, we really, really need anti-heal in this game. ADC, we're looking at you, buddy. And you're like, okay, I guess I'll go Toxic Blade. But past that, you can't really ever buy it early. You can't really buy it in the top 3, 4, 5 item slots, and you can only really buy it for your boots, which makes it actually more of a probably don't buy. Yeah. The Shadow Steel Shuriken would mostly just be in the probably don't buy / rarely built items, but yeah, not in here. Trans, we're gonna go ahead and throw it in A. I've been building it quite often. People are saying that it's bad, myself included, but I think the power spike is just too strong. A lot of power allows for great things in the lane. On top of that, infinite mana is obviously a huge deal, and it just feels so much better to have than Dominance. I was mistaken when I said you should just go Dominance if you're ever going to go trans, because when you go trans and you don't go Dominance, you feel great. When you go Dominance and you don't go trans, you're like, well, I feel like I just bought absolutely nothing on my first bet. Void Shield is a rarely built item. I'd say this item's like extremely situational, where you can actually probably can go at 5th item, but the only time I'd really think you should go it is if like there's heavy physical dive, so you don't feel the need for mantle. But even then, you'd probably just want to go berserkers over it because it's actually percent pen, not percent reduction, like Xe. And chances are you're gonna have another like percent pen slash build. I think Void Shield and Xe make sense together. I'm pretty sure, but Void Shield and percent. Mostly just like, you know, you just rather go Berserker Shield, Void Shield. Wind Demon. I think this is a staple in the crit build. It's just a very good quality of life item because it gives you a lot of attack speed. It just feels like a good crit item to have in a crit build. You just want this item. If you're going crit, you should be building Wind Demon, in my opinion. And then the last two items we have are Wingblade and Witchblade. Witchblade is probably a don't buy. I don't really see when you'd ever go Witchblade. My headset just died, but that doesn't really matter. It's just like one of those items that like soul laners are buying. You can maybe go it if you're going a like a off meta pick where you're like, oh, I'm gonna fight this guy and I want Witchblade, or so you go like Bologna or something like that. But for consistency's sake, I think it's just a bad item. You really shouldn't go with that.
Troy702_ just resubscribed.
Following up with our second to last item, there's an item on this list that I haven't actually talked about, which we'll talk about in a second. We have our Wingblade. I think this is a rarely built item, and for good reason. It's kind of just hard to fit it in. It doesn't have any power. It doesn't really do anything besides give you just a little bit of survivability and that bonus movement speed when you get slowed. The only times I'd really see you going it is on maybe like AMC, maybe Wing, or maybe on Scotty. Characters that have hard times surviving against, you know, CC in general. Slows are a big deal.
Cowboy
hey, yes, the subs, guys. I appreciate it. Troy and Cowboy. Welcome back, boys. But in general, it's a pretty hard item to fit in, and it doesn't like it's not a great item. You build it sometimes on some picks, which makes it. And last but not least, we have the freaking Hawk of the Month, Ichabod. Ichabod started out in this sub whatever you want to call this little category, whatever these are called, this row, this level. I think Ichabod is a terrible item. I think it is a dual item in particular, and I think you can build it in duels. I don't think it's a conquest item. It needs 4 arrows to stack. It doesn't offer you really much. It takes up an item in your item slots that I can't stress how valuable items are right now. And Ichabod is just an item that I don't want to have. I think it's bad. I'd rather go Devos than Ichabod every day of the week and not fight the person with Ichabod and just take trades and then heal up instead of just all-inning into Ichabod. Obviously, if you are building Ichabod, you should be looking for your 1v1s, which puts you in those spots where it's like, okay, my time to shine is now. Can I actually go on this guy? Chances are probably not. So then you're like, well, I have Ichabod now and he's stacking up with devs. Can I go on him now? Probably not. I think it's bad. I played with it a couple times. I played against it 100,000 times now. It is bad. The only time I'd probably ever say it, even then, even if they have an auto-attacking mid laner and an auto-attacking jungler, it's bad. It's a bad item. If you want, you could build it. I don't want to hear, hey, dude, I've been going Zapman's Berserker Ichabod build the past 3 weeks. I'm unboxable. I haven't lost a 1v1 since last week. Can you believe that? I've been going Berserkers Boots Ichabod. Dude, you should see how unboxable I am. They can't even 1v1 me, man. It's OP. Well, okay, yeah, you're right. You can't get 1v1, but guess what? It's a 5v5, man. It's not a duel. It's not a duel match. People who build Ichabod and Berserkers and then run at you and run it down, think it's a duel. And in high level ranked / comp play, it's just not going to work. It's not going to work. Somebody who goes Devos Boots Oboe is going to outclass you in team fights 100 times over unless they're just misplaying the fights, or it doesn't even matter who they are, such as they're playing, the team is just beating them. And yeah, I don't know. I just don't think it's a good item. I think the play style it instills, that, you know, it's just inconsistent. It's not great. It takes a long time to stack. 4 autos of stacking is you know, it's a consistent issue with Xe and stuff. It's just not good, man. It's just not good. I don't think it's good. You can have your own opinion. Obviously, this is an entirely subjective list. Some people might think some stuff's a little bit better. There are some numbers and stuff that can back some stuff up, so it's not entirely subjective. But at the end of the day, play with what you want. Play it out. You know, figure it out, how it feels and stuff like that. You know, just do as you please. This is a general idea of what I think of the current items are, or what I currently think of the items in the meta are. And yeah, my current build, for anybody wondering, for anybody asking, Panda, what do you build then? If you don't go the Sycamore Rush, what do you build? I have gone every single day for the past 2 weeks. Death Toll, Devourers 1. I finish my Devos, I go into Ninja Tabi. I then go into 3rd item Oboe, 4th item Kins, and 5th item Titanbane. The damage it deals is insane. The sustain is amazing. The shred is great. I mean, it's just an all-around good, can't go wrong build. It's cheap, good, it's consistent, it's everything that you can ask for, and I think it's the best build. But yeah, this is what I think is buildable slash not buildable slash what you should build slash what you shouldn't build. Shadow Steel Shuriken isn't on this list, but it'd be a rarely built item because you still want Rage and Wind Demon over it. You can replace Death Toll with Gilded and go Wind Demon 6th. I don't know what you mean by that. Boots in that build is a little bit of a tricky spot. You can go Berserkers if you want as your 6th item for Boots in the Oboe build. You can go another 20% pen item. You can go Dominance if you want. Granted, I don't think that feels great unless you have an auto attack speed steroid. You can go Heartseeker. You can go a defense item. You can go an Aussie. You can actually go Ichabod 6th item. Sometimes. You can go you know, Bloodforge, Mantle, Berserkers, Heartseeker, a defense item, of this or that. That item or that item slot is super flexible. You can do whatever the hell you want. If you're playing casuals, man, have some fun, bro. Go ahead and build freaking, I don't know, go ahead and build Ichabod. Go ahead and build Gladiator Shield. If you want to play Soul Eater Chiron, go ahead and play Soul Eater Chiron. If you want to rush Malice on Rama because it reduces your ult, go for it, man. Have fun. At the end of the day, the game's about fun. Just do what you want, man. Do what you want. But if you wanted my thoughts, these are my thoughts. If you guys did enjoy, like I said, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Give me your thoughts down below. What items did I put too high? What items did I put too low? What items are you stomping with that I'm an idiot and I haven't tried yet? Yeah, that's it for this video. Go crush it with some new ADC builds. Have a great night, everyone.